Welcome to It Came from the Grove, our paranormal, weird history, and enchanted folklore podcast. Tonight, our guest is Douglas Christopher Ryan. Care to introduce yourself?
I'm amateur independent author. I work with the elderly as my day job, and just very happy to be here. I've had an interest in cryptids and the paranormal for quite a while.
Very cool. And I am Wistmoor, VTuber Druid, fairy researcher, strange news hunter, illustrator of Wonders, and No Shirt, No Shoes gas station rebel.
And I, Wisteria, potion maker, meme brewer, herbalist, and mythology enthusiast.
So welcome everybody to our It Came from the Grove Cryptids of United Frights of America. Douglas, I hope you found your accommodations comfortable here. It's not every day that you're offered to be held up on a velvet cushion by an owl sloth.
It's quite comfortable.
Great.
So, I know that one of the main things that we were here to discuss today was the rake, which is a very interesting, I guess you could call it a phenomenon, because there's a lot of, if you, if you kind of just comb through the videos and stuff enough over a long enough period of time, you'll start to see that you see a pattern emerging kind of all throughout the Americas. It happens in like South America, Central America, North America.
Yeah. Actually, we've got I think quite a through line to draw today. But first, I wanted to start off and because we want to talk about scary cryptids and what actually makes a terrifying cryptid.
I think what makes a terrifying cryptid is something that resembles a human in one way or another. Like whether it's like a wendigo or a troll, goblin, anything like that. It's if it looks like a twisted or evil form of humanity, I think that really touches something in people.
Is that kind of like an uncanny valley kind of form of terror, or is it something else?
I think it's more like in the sense of like you look at things like sci-fi movies or pulp, things like that, and the aliens always kind of have sort of a humanoid shape to them. Like it's sort of rare that you get that sort of Lovecraftian, like what the hell am I looking at kind of thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it touches onto that. There's just something about seeing ourselves in the unfamiliar that can be very frightening.
Yeah, and I think the unfamiliar and the unknown is also part of it. And also part of the unknown being that you feel a presence and not being able to see it or having them appear while you're vulnerable or out of your element. Like vulnerable would be like while you're sleeping. And
I also saw this psychology study that talked about these robots that had the masks that resemble humans. And they're not real humans, but the thing that we perceive as scary is that they are so much like us, yet they are unnatural. And this is we are frightened by a lot of things that look identically like us, like doppelgangers and everything.
yeah.
And the evil reflections in the mirror, because it's almost human but not quite.
So, it's interesting that you mentioned doppelgangers because there's a couple videos that I've seen. I don't know if you've ever seen anything like it, where it's people recording their own voices calling out to them from like another room in their house, where it's the same voice, it's their voice, but it's going, "Hey, come here, come here, come here." It's like beckoning them, and that's probably been among the scariest things that I've ever seen, and it touches back to that same thing where it's like it's you're seeing yourself in the unfamiliar, or in this case you're hearing it, but because it's so human, that makes it even more terrifying.
Doesn't the Skinwalker do the same thing where it almost can mimic your voice or a voice of a loved one, but you feel that is quite off and you still don't know if you want to like go towards it or not?
I think so. I mean, it's from the things that I've seen about skinwalkers. A lot of them, it's almost like a werewolf in a sense. But it would make sense that it could like mimic the voice and stuff. Another thing that I've seen is you'll have people out in the woods and you'll start hearing someone calling for help, and that's predatory. You know, maybe it's a person acting in bad faith, but we know that things that aren't human can mimic human voices, like ravens and parrots and things like that. So it would make sense that other things could as well.
Yeah, even big cats, like the Florida panther here, when it does its cry, it sounds like baby screams. It's quite
Right,
creepy.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
And coyotes, man, if you ever hear those going, it's very eerie when they're communicating to each other at night.
Ooh,
Oh
and
yeah.
hyenas when they laugh.
Yeah.
Coyotes and hyenas have a bit of a similar sound. I grew up in Arizona, so I'm familiar with them. You'd see them time to time, even in the city, and when you hear them, it's pretty unsettling.
So, what's the most obscure or lesser known cryptid that you've come across, and what do you think makes it uniquely frightening?
I'd say the most obscure one I could think of is it's called like the land whale or the mountain whale, something like that, and it's a North American cryptid, and the testimonies, stories, whatever you want to call them, they say it basically just comes out of like the side of a mountain and just slides down it and just destroys it.
Yeah, yeah. I wish I could remember the name of that one. It actually has this claw at the end of its tail that holds onto the mountaintop, waiting for unsuspecting
Right.
travelers to come by.
And the thing that's really interesting about that to me is that, they would, from what I heard of it, they refer to it as like a whale and stuff. But, a whale is kind of a long, almost cylindrical animal. And so when you think about it, it almost sounds like a worm, like a big rock worm or a sandworm.
Yeah, yeah, it could be that too. All right, we're gonna kick it off actually with some hide behind videos. So let me see
Okay.
what we've got here from TikTok.
In the depths of the forest of North America, where the trees tower high and the shadows dance in the flickering light, there's a legend of a creature with an almost supernatural ability to blend into its surroundings. This predator is known as the hide behind, a fierce
Yeah, and we're gonna see a lot of similarities in the creatures that we talk about today.
beast said to be cunning and strong. Its fur is thick, and razor-sharp claws and teeth gleam in the
Doesn't that look scary? Like a bear? Like a fuzzy bear hugging a tree?
Doesn't it look like those hunting dogs? I don't know how they are called, but they are like fluffy and look like a rag that came to life.
Yeah.
Like an Irish wolfhound.
Yes, yes.
Something like that.
in the dim light. The hide behind waits, crouching behind trees, biding its time, and only striking when its prey is most vulnerable. So if you wander alone in the forests of North America, beware. The deadliest predator might not be the one you can see. The hide behind could be lurking, watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike.
What? Yeah, I'm sorry about your box today, Wisteria.
It's fine. I like it here.
So well, it's interesting that thing is called a hide behind, just because in my experience, it doesn't matter where in the world a video originates from or anything like that. When it comes to the paranormal, it's like things are always peeking from around corners and trees and things like that.
Yeah, like just outside of your ability to detect them. perceive them.
So, well, I mean, like literally, like they'll just kind of poke about half their face around a corner or a tree or that kind of thing, and then when they notice that they've been noticed, they just sort of slowly slide back. And I've seen that dozens of times.
Oh yeah, actually, we have a clip. There's a short film from 2014 about the hide behind, and it shows that. So let me put it up here for everybody. And I think this is like a much better depiction of the creepiness of the hide behind more than this fuzzy bear holding onto a tree.
We have a Melantrist in chat. Hello, Melantrist. He said that that might be the Beast of Gavadon that we just saw.
The Beast of Govardon.
While you played that video, sorry, I wanted to ask Douglas, do you happen to have echo cancellation on? And if you do, can you maybe like try to switch it off a bit to see if it sounds overall better?
I popped on my noise suppression.
Put the video here while you guys handle it. But yeah, we had the arm just from behind the tree.
But where is it coming from? That's like a thin tree.
Exactly. It's supposed to be like a really thin creature, and it can hide behind the thinnest trees.
Or it's a thin tree with a thin hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Is this any better?
yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, sorry, I'd forgotten to turn my noise suppression up.
Oh. Got one more hide behind video. This is supposedly real footage of a hide behind. Okay.
Tree?
Oh yes, I'm familiar with this.
Is that a hide behind?
I would actually like.
Did
for
you
me, that would be something like a rake.
Okay.
So because in all the footage that I would attribute as like containing a rake in it, they're always pale, thin, humanoid. There's a movie here from America called The Descent, and it's
Yeah.
about these like humanoid creatures that live underground. It's pretty much the same thing, except like in real life, they don't like roar or anything. They make this like pig scream. It's really creepy.
Well, I didn't know they made noises too. I'm gonna skip to the end of this because I think they show it again in slow motion. Maybe not. Maybe I just watched it again. All right. But I don't know. It could also be a squirrel.
Well, in like the videos that I've seen of it, they zoom in on it, and it's like an arm.
Yeah, now that I'm actually seeing it on the bigger screen, though, it looks more like an arm than a squirrel.
And you figure when he shot this video, he's in the middle of the woods, in the middle of the night, you know.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I can see why they'd be pretty creeped out by that. So,
Are you familiar?
go ahead.
So I was going to ask, are you familiar with? It's a video. It was released by the British government, and it was from some camera that they sent down into like a sewer, and it's moving along. It was like I think on like a little remote control car kind of deal.
Okay.
And as it's going down, you see. I'll see if I can find it here in a second. It's like this long, thin, humanoid-looking thing, and it kind of peeks out from around the corner. But its eyes are glowing, and then you see another one peek out from behind it, and then once the camera starts to move towards them, they both just flee, basically.
That's pretty
Is
cool.
that the one from the sewer?
Let me see if I can find.
Okay. I do remember there were these videos from like a sewer, and there was this alien monkey looking thing crouched in the distance, and then when the camera, because it was like operated somewhere from above, got closer to it, then that thing like just jumped across the tunnel, and it was super scary, and I don't know.
That's
That's
something
haunted.
I definitely
Yeah.
haven't heard of before, is sewer monkeys.
Oh yeah, I know which one you're talking about because it almost looks like a lizard with long legs.
Yeah, yeah, it looks reptilian.
And so they tried to say afterwards that, oh, it was an April Fool's prank kind of thing, which, maybe it's always possible. It just, the way I always approach that is like, it seems weird that like a government is from a place like Britain pull a prank like that.
I hear that argument a lot, and it's usually more than once, since April Fool's is just once a year. The government seems to find an April Fool's occasion every month.
So, and then here I found another one. I'm going to thumb through it to get to the actual clip, but it's a guy here in America finding the exact same creature underneath the building.
Okay. What was the original supposedly from? Was it UK?
Yeah, the UK.
Okay. UK, okay, gotcha.
And I also remember this video. It was filmed by a tourist coming here in Romania to some sort of like zoo. It was all beautiful outside, and a bunch of trees around, and there were these tourists all gathered in the entrance of what looked like the place where you keep the horses, and they had cages, so it was definitely not for the horses. There was a lot of hay on the ground, and you could hear these like screeching, yelling noises that were really unsettling. And as the guy approached that cell-looking thing that everyone was staring at, it was this humanoid creature, just like looking like it's being exercised right there, and it looked like a combination of the rake and an alien and something like that.
Yep, I've seen that one.
Yeah.
So, since we're bringing up the rake, I think I've got a video for people to visualize it easier.
This is why the rake might actually be real. The rake was first spotted in the United States in 2003 and has been seen multiple times since then, with some surviving the encounter, but many not surviving. People that see the human-like creature either go completely insane or disappear completely and are never heard from again. There was recently an alleged sighting.
So it's definitely a thin creature, pale.
In New York, with a young woman stating that it showed up outside her window every night, smiling at her and beckoning her to open the window. She said she had an overwhelming urge to open it and go to the creature, even though it terrified her more than anything she had ever seen.
And mind control.
That's a new one. That's a new angle I hadn't heard before.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like the fairy glamour, where they have the ability to imbue the victim with certain emotions. Like, actually, it also comes across in a lot of the alien and abduction stories too, where it's like there's an emotion projected into their minds.
Well, I mean, I believe that like psychics can be a real thing. It's a lot different than how it's often portrayed, but why not? I think that like the idea of projecting an emotion into someone, if you knew it, doesn't seem too far-fetched.
Yeah. Like I've actually had my own encounters with telepathy, so I'm certainly open to that kind of strange happening.
And I have this personal curiosity when it comes to telepathy. If, let's say in this example of the woman with the creature outside her window, if technically all her logic parts of her mind tell her to be afraid, and then something telepathically tells her that she should open the window and come towards that creature. Isn't it like a glitch happening in your mind? How come there's like the telepathy stronger than your own will or your own logic? Because clearly, like, she didn't open the window, so it only works up until a certain point, you know? So how much can you let your mind be taken over by the telepathy?
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe
there's
it just comes down to a dynamic, like if you had like two people arm wrestling. Like, if you're strong enough, if you're stronger than the other person, maybe you can just project your will onto them.
a good way to put
You
it.
just, yeah, that you just need to have a Chad brain.
Chad Willpower.
What's do you guys
Comes
know
in
who
handy.
Danny Trejo is?
Yeah, he's an actor and been in a lot of horror movies and what are they called?
He's in like crime movies, things like that, crime dramas. He's got a very fierce demeanor, but he has this great quote where he says, like, if you really want to get your message across to someone, you don't say it to them, you think it. Like, you think it and you just look at them. And he said,
Wow.
you'd be amazed at how often they'll know exactly what you want them to know just by you thinking it.
That's pretty
Melantra
cool.
says in chat, Machete. This is like the movie.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Yep, Machete. There's also this really great show called King of the Hill, and it's funny because he's always playing these like really criminal, fierce-looking guys, and in that show he plays this super friendly, like Mexican family man who's kind of a pushover.
Is it just me, or whenever an actor plays these criminal roles time after time, then whenever you see him or her in like this friendly, kind of like your next door neighbor kind of role, you kind of feel like you don't want to believe it, even though that movie might be like a comedy, friendliest of them all. Then you just expect him to like have a machete somewhere, a knife or something,
Right.
to be super brutal.
Probably does, that guy.
Yeah, and just the fact that the entire movie is so happy, then it becomes eerie because it's so happy, it's dystopian.
Yeah, so I think they're kind of playing on the typecast. That
That could be a powerful storytelling.
Yeah. So
Like,
go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. Well, I don't want to go too far off topic. I was just going to say with what's his name? I think Paul Verhoeven, the dude who did Starship Troopers.
Uh-huh.
Like, he intentionally cast bad actors because he wanted the movie to have kind of like a propaganda film.
I didn't realize that.
Uh-huh.
Now, are there any cryptids that you believe have like a real basis in reality?
Oh yeah, for sure. The Rake, for sure.
Okay.
Giants, I believe giants were real. There's a lot of old headlines from America when they were like building the transcontinental railroad, where they would come across these huge burial mounds with like 10, 12-foot skeletons, that kind of thing.
Great. So we got a real believer.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, just since we live in a day and age now where everybody has a camera all the time, it really only became a matter of time until you started having a lot more evidence sort of just float to these hubs like YouTube and Reddit, things like that.
Right, and with the advent of the internet, with information being able to get out without having to go through as many filters or gatekeepers.
That's just it. You know, before the internet, and especially before things like YouTube and Reddit and all that, if you were going to find out about that stuff, it had to pass through like a news station, you know, an editor or a film producer that wanted to make a movie about it, that kind of thing. Like, it had to really already have gained lots of traction before it reached, on a broad scale.
And I think that's kind of like the basis of the urban legend, is these kinds of rumors that were never put through media, and it's just word of mouth spreading because that was before the internet.
Right, exactly.
Sorry, go on.
Well, also, things like gnomes, and like if you look at videos from Mexico and things like that, there's a lot of gnome encounters. And there's another thing about Mexico which is really weird, which is possessed dolls. Like possessed dolls, you'll find all sorts of videos of that stuff from Mexico.
Okay. That's
Maybe they just have more dolls than we do.
I think it's I think people they put out energy just like anything else does. And I think places like Mexico, they have a much higher concentration of very religious people. And when you have that sort of collective spiritual energy, I think it attracts things.
Yeah, and we definitely have a consumerist culture here in America, so I'm sure we have lots of dolls.
When I was younger, there were these popular videos here in Romania about, as you said, like possessed dolls. But for us, it was kind of hard to take them seriously because they were not dolls; they were house appliances. So I seen the possessed toaster that started to rattle on its own, the microwave that was unplugged in and it was still like having the light turn on and off. And I don't know, we were frightened about kitchen appliances. It was
Yeah,
weird.
that sounds like a poltergeist.
Sounds
Yeah.
like it's pretty much in the same category because whether it's a toaster or a doll, it's an inanimate object that's being taken over by something. So perhaps dolls are more common because, again, like what we touched on at the beginning, they have that humanoid shape, and perhaps otherworldly entities, let's call them, they might find some comfort in that, like in going into something where they'll have a more mortal form as opposed to something like a toaster. Or I once saw a video of an antique phone that wasn't connected to anything, hooked on a wall, just start ringing.
Well, I have to say that there must be some really tortured souls that find their comfort in a toaster.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, sometimes it can be comforting to kind of be in just like a little tight spot.
Yeah. We have a DB in chat. Hello, DB. Elf on the Shelf. It's almost the time of year. Almost. But
Glad
can't
you can
we
make it
do
DB.
like Gnome on the Shelf this year?
I have several gnomes on my shelves.
Gnome in the home.
But have you seen the video of the elf on the shelf where it turns its eyes and it looks at a lady? And her reaction seems pretty genuine because she like takes off. It seems like a real flight response.
I haven't seen it, but it sounds good.
I haven't seen it either, but Elves on the Shelf really frighten me anyway, so it doesn't even have to look at me and I would be in on the whole running away from it thing. Gnome in the home, I'll buy it. Yes, DB, that's a branding idea.
So let's get back to the rake. Do you have any like encounters or stories about the rake?
Not personal anecdotes, no. Everything that I could attest to on it is basically just things from videos that I've seen. And it's not like they're all videos that say, oh, rape caught on camera, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's just you see patterns emerge over time, like that pale body, the humanoid shape. That's sort of like, they never have beards or anything like that. It's like they're all just completely hairless. Which to me, that all lends credibility to it because a lot of the encounters are at night and they're pale, no hair. America has just an insane amount of tunnels going underneath it and through it. And all those attributes are things that you see in things that live in caves for long periods of time. So like, who knows, maybe it's just like an ape offshoot that went underground thousands of years ago. Like, who knows? Maybe it's people. Like, maybe it's the Vikings.
Yeah, I've actually heard that Kentucky, state here in the U.S., has the most extensive cave system in the entire world. Like, actually discovered and undiscovered, or not fully mapped, but
Oh yeah, there's hundreds and hundreds of miles. It's insane.
Don't you find it cool when people do home renovations and they find in their basement an entire tunnel that leads to a city?
I wish that happened more often around here. But
Is
Yeah,
that
I think
for
that's
real?
more of a European thing.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I saw a thing about some guy in the UK. I think it was like on like the countryside, and he was doing renovations and trying to expand his cellar a bit more. And then he had like the entire wall was just like these bricks. And after he took them down, he saw that it was like an entire tunnel made out of cobblestone and everything, and it led to like a small little dungeon thingy. basically like an escape route, and it led to like the closest
Right.
castle. So that was cool to have like free real estate under your home, an entire castle.
Right.
Yeah, and there's a story from Turkey about actually discovering a whole city underneath that was
Yep.
just
I was going to bring that up.
just buried there.
DB says we find booze stores in the States underground.
Yeah,
Wow.
we do find prohibition caches, but that's probably the most common kind
So
of
aren't those
discoveries.
cellars?
Yeah, be more like a cellar storing liquor from almost 100 years ago.
Okay, so I want to do a little plot twist on this story just for Wistmoor's soul to take some joy over. So just imagine that you have this tunnel that leads to a castle close by, and that leads directly to its really ancient, really rare library of books. And then it's just like a forbidden library to go into. No one goes in, but you have like access from like underground through a set of hidden stairs. You just have access to all of these rare books.
Yeah,
You would never hear from me again if I came across that.
yeah, I think I'd run into you there.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was something I saw on Twitter the other day about this Tibetan library that had almost 100,000 untranslated texts that nobody was even bothering to translate. But yeah, all
I think
kinds
it was
of
a bunch of scrolls, right?
yeah, an undiscovered sort of Library of Alexandria.
But were they untranslatable or just no one bothered?
No one's bothered to translate them yet.
Melantri says, I mean, that's what happens all over the place here, like in Eastern Europe, and every big city is built on the bones and mortar of the previous cities that were there. Yeah, we should do another episode on this because it's interesting to just discover all of these catacombs and cities and all these secrets. Yeah, it's the dream. Everyone wants to have the access to the ancient library.
Well, and like the have you seen the Roman mosaics that they find like under vineyards and things?
Yeah, they're gorgeous.
I saw one the other day. It was underwater, and that stuff is really fascinating. You know, like, do you guys know about Doggerland?
Yeah, but it's like to the east of the UK that used to connect to the mainland.
Yeah. Yep. Now it's all underwater. And when you think about it, it's like, because you see how the Mediterranean, how it all comes in through, I forget the name of it, but that one point right there between the UK and Spain, I believe, and just think about how much civilization there probably was in just that territory that got buried when it started to fill up, you know?
Yeah, they do have discoveries on the Canary Islands, which is just west of there, of like ancient Cro-Magnon civilizations. So there's definitely has to be some from in between the peninsula of Iberia and those islands. But let's get back to the United Frights of America. We've got. Have you ever heard of the stickmen of Native American legends?
No, that's a new one.
Yeah, actually, I found them just trying to find things that would be relatable to the rake. And they are from the Salish tribe in the Cascadia Mountains area. I got a map here for everybody. And they're mysterious and dangerous people whose general habitat is the lofty forest regions of Cascade Mountains. They haunt the tangled timber falls which serve as domiciles or lodges. They are as large as an ordinary person. Their language is to mimic notes of birds and animals. So that also goes back to the mimicking sounds to
Yeah, for sure.
to pull travelers off of their trail. Nocturnal in habit, they sleep or remain in seclusion during the day and consequently are seen only on rare occasions. It is under the cover of darkness that they perform the acts which have fastened upon them the appellation stick shower. So this is fun. What they do is they thrust sticks into the opening of teepees and shower sticks up upon the inhabitants in there. So it's just like obnoxious and annoying and waking you up from your sleep. A person who is delayed or lost from the trail is apt to receive their attention. They may hear a signal, perhaps a whistle ahead. Should they follow the sound, it will be repeated. Then they will hear the opposite direction along the path they've just passed. If they turn back, it'll only be to detect mysterious noises elsewhere, so it leads them in confusion and bewilderment. And they also like to, if you're like bathing in the stream, they like to steal your clothes or mess with your things while you're sleeping. Let me stick, because they actually have these mental powers too. Some believe they have powers to hypnotize or cause instant insanity, which also was part of the Rake description. Almost every tribe agrees that they are able to induce dread, confusion, and anxiety to humans, especially humans wandering alone.
Wow. It's like a dead ringer.
Yeah, and they're so afraid of these stickmen that they don't want to call them by their name, by their real Native American name, so they refer to them as stickmen. Yeah, so that's like kind of in between the Rake and the Hide Behind.
Right. Huh. That's cool. I'll have to look more into that because I hadn't heard of those. There's a lot of tribes in America.
Yeah, with some very cool legends that we actually have. We'll be covering today. We've also got similar skinwalkers, and then the Raven Mocker. But first, let's hit up Slender Man, because I want to tie this into the Rake and the Stickmen. But it's a new one that actually just appeared in 2009 on the internet. But let me see what this video is I have here.
The Blender Man.
The Blender Man.
You say Blender Man or okay, Slender
Talk
Man.
about the
Yeah,
Slender
yeah.
Man. He's an urban legend, unnaturally tall with a human body and a featureless face. Slender Man is supernaturally strong. He's able to tear through clothes and mutilate the bodies of his victims, which are usually young teens and kids. You'll usually see him while you're playing outside, if you wake up in the middle of the night in your room, or even in your closet. By the way,
But yeah, that suit is something that's new about Slender Man that makes it different from the others we've discussed.
I think it makes it super eerie because a person wearing a suit in the middle of the forest is the least likely thing to happen.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so Slender Man showed up in 2009 on the Something Awful forum. So he's always thin, unnaturally tall, and he has that white head and white face.
So I think that was still. I would attribute that more to being just like a creepypasta creation kind of thing.
Yeah, actually, it was part of a meme contest. So maybe they were just drawing off of other legends and kind of making its own thing. So it could have been an inspired creepypasta.
That was kind of a common thing that you would see in like horror movies back around that era too. Is you would see sort of those spindly creature-looking things. What's his name? Doug Jones. He plays a lot of monsters and stuff. He's a very tall and thin guy, and I think that may have had something to do with it. Like,
Oh, okay.
There's a movie called Legion, which is a good movie if you've never seen it. But one of the things that people might know it for if they hadn't seen it is it has that ice cream man that comes out, and he's like super tall, and he like unhinges his jaw and kind of runs like a spider and stuff. And I think that came out right around then.
DB says, is this guy cooking? Yeah, nothing is more unsettling about someone making a grilled cheese sandwich and telling you horror stories.
I was gonna say this is quite the gimmick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was using donuts as the bread for the sandwich too.
For a European, for me, this is really unsettling. DB says, I'm afraid of the Lenderman coming for money. Oh, is this
Yeah.
like the love and the passion that a debt collector has?
Nobody's more dedicated than a debt collector.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, did you get a chance? Did you look at the videos that I sent you? Of,
Oh no, let me go
we
check
we were
on that.
talking about the sewer creature from the UK, and then I gave you a time and a different video where it's pretty much the same thing except it's in America.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I got it here.
Just as my random observation, I think there are a lot of these cooking videos combined with story time so they can keep your attention there. And I think they work. They work for me. So maybe we just need to start doing grilled cheese sandwiches here on the stream. Like while we do our podcast, wouldn't that be awesome? We will have a snack after too.
Yeah, maybe we can.
I started to love cooking lately, man. You know, I make good soup.
Oh, I'm into that. I vibe.
Yeah, so we've got the video playing in the background. You can see the two eyes. And this figure, yeah, this is a silhouette of the rake.
Doesn't it just move like a
So check
monkey
out
that
the-
fast?
Yeah. Get back to it.
At the end with the thumbnails, you'll see one that says Mysterious Tunnels. Click that one and then go to 1840.
Okay, 1840.
I have another random idea for our Twitch streams because that's where we do chaotic. We don't exactly care about the subject. We just stream kind of streams. And lately we've been playing games. But how about we come up with like a list of cryptids and assign them different recipes that best represent them? What would cryptids cook or what would cryptids eat? That would be cool.
I know you definitely like your
Lots
food
of squirrels.
ideas.
It's everyone likes food content.
Okay, let's skip to the most played section. Have you ever been to one of these, like, water drainage
Sewers.
tunnels?
No, not for a long time. You know, as a kid, we go through things like that.
Yeah.
No, for a while.
At my university days, there was a lot of tunnels around there that we could explore, and I really enjoyed it.
So aren't these the sewers?
This is water drainage, so it's just water runoff, not sewage.
Oh,
So if I remember right, it's like underneath a big abandoned building. Because this is from an urban exploration channel.
they're the best videos. At least very entertaining for me. A group of Russian guys, they go exploring these underground tunnels under Chernobyl, and they go during winter where there was a bit of a flood and there's this thick layer of water and ice and everything, and they break the ice and they go scuba diving under, and it's just, I don't know, you feel weird, and there's radiation and this guy is getting all of that all over him, and I don't know, it's the wildest content that I found lately.
It's almost like it was the
Russians are hardcore, man.
exact
Yeah.
same motion that we saw in the previous video.
Yeah, same motion, even the same way like it leans on its arm when it leans out and everything.
Yeah.
And whatever they are, they're fast because after that he kind of goes, he walks down and checks out the tunnel, and it's like a long tunnel and there's no sign of.
Did
The
you
dude-
also send that one that is like a monkey that jumps?
No, but let me find that one.
Okay.
So this is him trying to go down the tunnel looking for the creature.
I have to say these people really have some brave bones in them. I wouldn't be able to do it.
Well, that guy, the Chris Hill, the dude who does that channel, he's pretty jacked.
Like his buff or what?
Yeah, he's pretty buff.
I would like to think that whatever like buff level you have, how many muscles you have, it won't help you when you encounter these kinds of creatures. I don't know exactly what would help either, but you know.
A strength of willpower.
Yeah, the Chad brain.
Yeah. Brain jacked. It sounds very cyberpunk though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like Shadowrun. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Shadowrun.
Yeah. All right, so let's see if skinwalkers fit in or not. They're sort of part of the Navajo tradition, and they're believed to be witches and warlocks. So they're humans that transform into animals, where they're definitely able to transform. The common characteristics are associated with evil or considered to be dangerous, may possess living animals or people and walk around in their bodies. Wow, so that's not even transformation. That's kind of like just jumping into a body. They also mimic sounds to draw attention. What were you going to say?
That is like a ghost that changes bodies.
Yeah, it's like kind of like astrally projecting, and then you're a ghost. Your soul is a ghost taking over body.
So I'm trying to find it right now, but there's this really interesting video of this guy. He's out in the desert and he's kind of filming up towards like a mountainside, and you see this thing that almost looks like it's moving like a mountain lion, but then it just sort of changes shape, and then it looks like it's moving like a wolf.
Whoa. You got some good stuff, man.
Oh yeah, it's like I said, this stuff sort of just filters out, and over a long enough period of time, you see more and more of it, and this stuff kind of becomes hard to decide because yeah, sure, there's plenty of things out there where you could be like, oh, it's a hoax and stuff, but there's also things where you just can tell the way people were responding and everything, like it's real, like somebody's actually filming something and being scared.
Yeah, and if anything, the fear itself is real. Also, the skinwalkers are known for their great speeds, which we've seen, but also their superhuman strength. So that's probably more than just a jacked human could arm wrestle against. They're also able to read minds and control thoughts of others. So yeah, we got a lot of similarities here. They're believed to be able to cause disease and illness in people. It also goes with their curses. And whatever they wear a pelt of an animal, that's what they transform into.
Sounds like a shamanic activity.
Yeah.
Supernatural shaman.
Yeah, it's kind of like evil shaman would be a warlock. Now we do have even more evil warlocks and wizards and witches from the Cherokee called the Raven Mocker. And they are just like the skinwalkers, but they actually can absorb people's life and extend their own. So they appear at night. They can actually fly. Like they sprout wings and fly, and they actually look fiery in the sky too. And
That's a new one.
Yeah, they cry like ravens when they're flying.
I think I've seen a video at some point of this thing just looking almost like a kite that caught on fire, but it was moving too much with like a purpose to be something slowly like falling to the ground, and it looked like this like dragon that caught on fire, and maybe this
Oh.
relates to the story.
That is very dragon-like. They can also turn invisible, and they're kind of like the Grim Reaper because they show up and end people. So it's almost like he's taking them to the underworld. But I think it's really just he's absorbing their lives, and then the victims die, and they receive power from taking those lives.
Do you also want to see the scary video from the zoo from Romania with that creature?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll send you the link.
I think it's kind of an interesting testament to how long people have been, whether you believe it or not, coexisting with these types of things when that sort of stuff gets woven into the folklore, like, you know, they can steal your life force or go invisible, that kind of thing. It's
Yeah, there's
no longer just an animal that you're sharing the forest with. It's like an actual, like, spiritual force.
I think the strangest thing is the amount of overlaps that we see from culture to culture, and whatever it's named, but we have similar stories.
Yep. You know, like you have gnomes and goblins in Europe, and then in like Mexico, the word is duende, but it can mean either. It can mean gnome or goblin.
Yeah, and the Alush.
And then in North America, there are things called I think it's North America. It's the puka. It's Puca, and it's kind of like a little humanoid thing, almost like a chupacabra or a duende. Are you familiar with the Yosemite nightcrawler?
Yeah, he's got really long legs.
Yeah, it's like a head on two really long legs.
It does seem to be similar to the Slender Man, but just kind of slightly different shape. And I guess you could even tie it in with the Stick Man and the Rake. But I don't know exactly what Nightcrawlers do other than just kind of appear and disappear.
Yeah, it's true. There's not a whole lot on them. They are interesting though. It's almost got that like Lovecraftian element to it. Or like, what the heck am I looking at? You know?
Yeah.
The night crawlers are those things with like a head and long legs.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a video that came out of it's called the Yosemite Crawler because it's from a government building in the Yosemite National Forest, and it's an adult and like a baby, and the adult's kind of lumbering along, and the baby's just sort of toddling behind it.
That sounds pretty
They're
cute.
just waddling.
Cute cryptids. We got quite a turn there.
I sent the link to that one.
Okay.
I don't know if it's one that you've seen or not, but I think Wisteria has.
Mm-hmm. DB says they be crawling.
And then there's some videos out of California that show similar things. One of them looks like it might be faked because of the way it's running. It almost looks like it's being pulled on like a fishing line or something.
All right, so this is the Nightcrawler video. So we have them entering left screen.
And the camera is a surveillance camera on a government building.
Don't they just look like they have those walk on sticks? I don't know what it's called. Wistmoor knows.
Stilts?
Yeah.
I mean, that you could explain that for the adult, but for the baby, it becomes a lot more difficult because people have gone and sort of gone to that exact spot, and it'd be a lot of work to pull off at like 2 in the morning.
And this person must be very small.
Maybe it's a gnome.
I mean, maybe it could be some people with like the type of dwarfism, if that's the right term. That do you guys know who Vern Troyer is?
Yeah.
So maybe it could be that, you know, just a couple of people that have a condition that makes them tiny.
Did you get my link to Wistmoor?
Yeah, let's do that next. Humanoid creature in Romanian zoo coming up.
Another
Also,
topic that would be kind of neat for you guys to do
yeah.
a show on would be glitches in the Matrix.
Ooh.
I don't know if you're familiar with things like that. There's tons of videos of like birds frozen in midair and
Oh
planes.
yeah, yeah,
And I know with planes you can get an optical illusion, like if you're in a car or another plane, but there's ones where it's people, they're just standing still on the ground.
yeah. I saw one where there was like just a bird frozen next to an overpass.
Yep, and people appearing out of nowhere, and there's some really interesting things out there.
Let's,
That effect where the bird is caught in midair, I actually saw it in real life, and I was so like spooked by it.
you did,
Yeah,
and you
I
never
said it.
told me about it.
I did. I said it on stream, and you said, "Wow, that's amazing." Okay, so close by we have some construction site going on, and they have two huge cranes, and they were not being used at that time. It was like 7-ish, and sunset and everything nice, and yeah. And I saw this huge bird. It must have been a seagull or something, because it was huge, and it was just like stuck in midair. It was not. Just standing. It was like flapping its wings, but it was not advancing. And I'm telling you, there was no wind blowing or anything. And I just like stared at it, and it lasted for like 10 seconds ish. And then it went on, and I was like, did it just get caught? And cranes have these wires. So yeah, but I could see them, and I were like far, far away. So maybe the perspective was not right or something, but it was creepy. I mean, really creepy.
Yeah, and even if it was like a bird suspended by fishing line, it would still be affected by the wind.
Yeah. But even if it was like fishing line or just a wire or something, it was higher than the crane. So, it could not be anything up there.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like that, or a lot of videos I should say. But yeah, and with that thing, it's interesting because the last few seconds of the video there, when they realize that he's recording, they kind of push him out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't have the sound on. Let's see if we hear something.
Yeah, you hear the screeches. There's this guy yelling at him in the back to turn off his phone or to throw it on the floor to like leave or something. It's talking in Romanian, I translate.
Right.
Okay, so I'm in this really crappy zoo in Romania.
It's in a crappy zoo.
Weird creature caged up.
So, and when it comes to the rake, there's this where I first heard of it was this channel called Choncom. It's CHONECOM, and it was this like 45-minute long video of this guy. All these different videos by this one guy of him kind of exploring his property, and over time, the encounters keep getting closer and closer into his house. And the very last one, like the thing's up in his attic. And like he finds his dead cat, like kind of built into like this nest next to a sewer tunnel opening. And it's about from the time where like creepypastas were really getting popular and stuff. It's just if you watch it, if it's a fake, it's a masterfully done fake.
When you mentioned the attic, I just had a thought of owls. Like there's these giant owls that we have here in North America, but owls when they're wet look supernatural. Like they don't look like any creature you've ever seen before.
Can we look at the bald owl right now?
Oh, okay, I gotta find it.
Can I send you something?
Yeah, those are the great horned owl.
Yeah, the great horned owl. Thank you. Do you have a wet owl you can share with us?
Yes.
Amazing. And it almost looks like a
my
nightcrawler.
Personal stash.
We'll see if it matches up.
You have 2 or 3 images in a second.
Okay. So what got you into cryptids, Douglas?
It's just been something I've been into ever since I was a kid. Like at the school libraries, they would have books on ghosts and UFOs and Bigfoot. I always check those out when they got new ones. It's just something that's interested me my whole life. And then came to a point a few years ago. That's when I started noticing like certain YouTube channels that you'd watch it and be like, where does this guy find all of these really convincing videos every 2 weeks? And it just goes on like that for years. And you just get more and more into it, because when you're younger, or when I was younger, it's all things that you read about in books, or you might see like a tabloid or a thing on the History Channel about. But now it's just this stream of firsthand footage. And the more you see, the more convincing it becomes. Look at that.
Oh, you sent me a couple. All right, let me get the other one. I was trying to figure, why isn't this one showing up? But it's multiple images you sent me.
Yes. Owls are really strange creatures. I remember when I was little and we visited this countryside house that we own. No one is living there anymore, and so it was kind of like sitting there close. But I think there was like an opening in the roof or something, and it led to this storage room attic thingy that had a ladder, and you could open like a little door next to the kitchen that would get you to that ladder. And the moment that it opened it, I don't know, I think it pulled on something, and something like tumbled down the ladder, and my dad was like low-key freaking out, but you couldn't tell. And it was this dead mummified owl, so it was like
Wow.
nothing decomposing. It was like perfectly taxidermied, if I can say that, because it was dry and with the air circulating and everything. And he just picked it up, and it had like the wings outstretched and everything. It fell down, and it was huge. But I say, when the wingspan was something out of horror movies.
Yeah, I mean, look at these owls. They look like they could be a gray alien. Look
These
like,
are babies, by the way.
oh, so this would be what they look like without feathers, or
Yes.
The one on the left there, that's photoshopped in.
Is it?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the wet owl.
Okay. But yeah, that definitely looks alien-like, and possibly even rake-like.
those would be small though. If you were to see them, I mean, those would be. I mean, they're babies, so they maybe 9-10 inches tall when they're standing up like that.
Yeah, but wouldn't an owl, when it was full-grown, look like this if it were wet?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's possible, but the things that you could attribute to, like the videos and all that stuff, the way it moves, and there's nothing bird-like about it. Like, it's definitely something humanoid or ape-like or something like that. Like, I never got a bird vibe.
Yeah, and the bird's legs bend backwards instead of forwards.
So I'm really into birds and everything, because I have a parakeet, the canary too, and there are all of these mm, diseases that they can get, especially like the exotic birds are more sensitive to them, but even the forest birds like owls and such, they can start losing their feathers for good if they get infections from mites,
Oh,
all
wow.
kinds of other diseases, depending on what like happens to them specifically, like from a wound, or if they lose their eggs, then they are stressed, they start picking their own feathers just like parrots do, and they'll go bald.
Yeah, so we could possibly have a fully featherless owl with some sort of skin condition.
Yeah, so, or just a stressed owl.
Yeah, that's interesting. I always enjoy discovering new theories on what things can be, whether it's the truth or not. It's just possibilities to explore.
It's always
Yeah,
better
like-
to try and find a scientific explanation before you start to go on, oh, it's a rake or it's a ghost or whatever.
Sometimes if you're running out of rake encounters and you still want to see something unsettling, you can look at bald bears.
Yeah.
Bald bears are horrifying.
Yeah. And I've seen bald raccoons or otters. They are out of nightmares, I'm telling you.
You ever seen a bald chimpanzee?
No, I don't want.
Yeah, it's just like a
We found
just
the
like a little
truly
muscular dwarf.
terrifying cryptids, and they're just ball animals.
Right. Well, imagine like a bald saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah.
I imagine it having a lisp. I don't know why.
So, well, here I'm gonna send you the link. You want to peruse it at some point for ChonCon.
Yeah, this is one.
This isn't the original. The original got deleted years ago. Now all you have are copies and people talking about it, that kind of thing. Like this one is 30 minutes. The original is like 42 minutes, something like that. So I think they cut some of it down.
Okay.
So, but here, let me go to find this
You
one.
guys touched a bit on creepypasta and all of these stories and encounters that some might say they are fake, but they are so well thought of and scripted and just choreographed, and how real they look, that they couldn't be fake. And you're just swinging back and forth in this thought of they are fake, they are not. And I remember following this thread. I don't even remember where it was from. I think it was from Reddit, and I've seen YouTube videos on it, and I should go back and watch it. It was about this guy who had to move into a house that he somehow inherited while the like documents were going through, to kind of like renovate it a bit and put it up for sale. And the house was in a really remote small village, and it was close to a forest, and there were all of these weird happenings around the house. And at some point he discovered these something that looked like dragon eggs, and there was this ritual going with eyes all over like the ground of the forest, like not human eyes but animal eyes. And he would find circles of blood and all kinds of these trinket offerings, and it was creepy. So it went over, like the entire story happened over several years, and I kept up with it for 3 years or so until it ended, or I don't know, something happened to that guy and he stopped posting. I was really invested.
Yeah, I think
It's a whole new level of scary once you start getting into things like rituals and magic and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
have you guys seen the Arab Jinn Hunter videos?
No, I haven't heard that.
Those guys have wills of steel, because they'll be in an abandoned building and like doors are slamming and they'll see like shapes, they'll see like kids running around and stuff.
Oh, the ones
And like
that
a
are
door will
talking in
start.
Arabic.
Yeah. And like these dudes will just run up to a door and just kick it open. Like when it's
Yeah, it's running after creatures too. It's crazy. I've seen it too. And sometimes they even see something resembling the rake, but it's in a black version. So it's this
Right.
black mass. It's not even a shadow. And they are chasing it down the hallways. And sometimes it
Yep.
peeks through a door. It chases it down the hallway. And then it peeks through the window. And it's scary. Like really scary. And the entire time that guy is praying in Arabic. And it's a jinn.
All kinds of.
There's one where it's two guys in an abandoned building, and they're both live streaming. And
Yeah.
They both basically keep capturing this black figure following each other and appearing behind him. And one of the guys points the camera at himself, and it like raises its head behind him, and that's when he freaks out and runs away.
Yeah, it's like they play hide and seek in that abandoned building with this jinn.
Yeah, so even the cities are not enough to fend off cryptids. We have encounters in big cities for Slender Man, the night crawlers, the rake. You don't have to be out in the middle of nowhere.
I think a lot of that stuff is probably demonic in nature, if you believe in that sort of thing, because in cities and all that, that's when you're probably more likely to have people engaging things like witchcraft and all that stuff. Like I know people will do it in the country, but you have such higher populations in the cities, and you also tend to have that disconnect from traditional religious practice, to where you'll have like in America, like Wisteria, I don't know if you knew this, but they sell Ouija boards in like the game sections of kids departments at stores.
Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah.
I don't know if people actually buy it, or like
Yeah.
sane people actually do.
Yeah, I've known all kinds of friends that that's how they got their Ouija board, was just the board game section at the store.
See, this
Yep,
is
so
why
it's right there next to Monopoly.
Yep.
this is why it's better here in Eastern Europe that we don't give kids pocket change or like their own allowance money so that they can buy a Ouija board. Not that we have Ouija boards, but this happens for you guys because you give kids allowances.
And Ouija board.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had several waves of kind of spiritualist movements here in the States where people kind of play with seances and summoning spirits. And I know there's been some of that in Europe, but I'm not sure they've been as strong and as many waves as such
We
that
are
we've seen
way
here.
more religiously tied, I would say. So even out of common courtesy, we are not touching those subjects. And I do now remember that there was these photos circulating on the news a few years ago of this picture of a hospital room with an elderly man. I think it was on his bed, and above him was this rake-looking creature crawling like over him and just slouching over him. Did you guys see it?
No,
No.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Okay, I can look it up.
Okay. But yeah, we do have that tie-in of curses and sort of dealing with evil spirits with the skinwalkers and the raven mocker. So it does even go back to Native Americans here and their legends.
So I sent you, let's see, where is it? On the video you have going, if you go to like 2130 and turn the sound on, there's a part where it's him and a friend and they're going through this abandoned house in the woods, and it kind of pokes its head up over the roof. When it notices that it's been seen, it lets out this like scream. It's like a pig squeal. It's super unsettling.
Here we go. Prepare thyselves.
Yeah, I think it's on the roof. I think it's on the... The heck is that? Oh, shoot, no! Shoot! Just get out of the house!
I just looked over it right now. I was searching something. I got scared.
Yeah, that does sound like a pig squeal.
That's the sound it made.
So what it actually is a chonecom?
Oh, that I have no idea. Chumcom, I think that was just the name of the channel.
Oh, okay.
No idea what it's a reference to or anything like that.
So it's not a cryptid itself.
No.
So this is
I
just
sent
about
you the picture,
rakes.
Wistmoor.
And I don't even know if the word rake came about in the original video.
How old is the original?
It's from like 2013, 2014, somewhere around there.
Okay. So that would even be after Slender Man.
Let's see if I can get some good possessed doll stuff too.
All right, so we've got surveillance footage of the inside of a what? What business is this?
It's a hospital. It's a hospital room, and that is a hospital bed. And there's this creature on the bed. And it looks ape-like.
Whoa. And this isn't an abandoned hospital. This is like...
No. There's a guy in the bed, and
Whoa,
it's
I see
shortly
him.
died after. Yeah, it was really sick, and it died shortly after. And this is what appeared on the nurse camera that they have in every room right before he died.
That is pretty creepy.
Is it just a still or is there a video too?
Yeah, no, it's just a still. I don't think I've ever seen a video of it. It was just a picture.
It's creepy.
Yeah, you can kind of see its head right there.
Weird stuff happens when you're at the end of your journey. Like I
Yeah,
deal
and a bunch
with
of
death a lot.
people. Sorry?
Oh, I see a lot of death in my line of work because like I work with the elderly.
Oh,
I see.
something that happens. And I mean, I don't have. I couldn't tell you like stories that people have told me because they're dying and everything. But let's just say I wouldn't want to walk around my place of work at night by myself.
did you already have a video sent to me?
Me?
No, Douglas.
Oh.
Oh, for no, the last one I sent was the Choncom one.
Okay.
But I do here. Let me see, because there's so much noise. You know, you got to find the signal through the noise when it comes to looking for these things.
Yeah, actually, something that I find useful in finding things for the show is new AI internet searches. And it's a lot better cutting through the noise. One of them is perplexity.ai.
Oh, okay. I'll look into that. My as far as like AI and all that stuff, I don't really use Chat GPT or anything. I just use the image generator.
Yeah, Midjourney.
I did a trial, but I haven't subscribed to it yet. Lately,
Okay.
I've been using Bing.
Yeah, I guess there are plenty of others too.
The one in Photoshop too.
Yeah, they just got that out. I haven't even played around with it yet.
Have you ever seen the ones of it's like this jester doll, and it makes these thumping noises, and the dude will look at it for a second and then turn away, and then when he turns back, like its head will have moved, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like the Elf on the Shelf.
Well, I did send you the Elf on the Shelf one.
And that's coming up right here.
The sound would be good for this one because it helps you get a feel for the realism on it. Because this lady's, it's like a total just non like throwaway video that this lady's making, and then the doll looks at her.
All right, so I'm going to pause it right here because it looks like the eyes are painted on. So if anything happens with those eyes, it's going to be interesting. Yeah.
Oh God! Oh no!
They moved.
Right?
They sure moved.
And if you put the sound on, the way she reacts, it does not seem fake.
Even DP is scared in chat. Oh no.
Okay.
Yes, I would say maybe this could be a thing for dolls that have those glass eyes, but for something that is painted, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, because I think the eyes are always like pointed. Like if you look at any given picture of one, like the eyes are always kind of off to the side like that.
Yeah. Something I absolutely hate about these art techniques that would just make it seem like the painting is following you. There's a certain technique that does that.
Yes, we had one of those in the house I was
Yeah.
growing up in.
There's a way of
Wasn't
doing
it
it
just
with dolls
creepy?
too, where you paint like the iris and everything on the back of like a clear glass ball, and the way it refracts the light, it makes it look like it's following you.
Wow, I haven't heard about that one.
Yeah, you might see those dolls pop up in videos where it's like, oh, possessed doll watches you while you move, but they're all made by this artist.
Okay, that's definitely one I'll look into. But yeah, the painting I had, if you get the look just right, then wherever you're looking at it from, it will look like it's looking at you. So that's how it looks like it's following you. If you're moving and looking at it.
I just want to say that I'm not feeling okay because I'm looking out the window and half of the street lights from my neighborhood are flickering, and I'm not okay.
You know, I actually still have that painting. It's in one of the frames I'm looking to
No.
store. Yes.
No, get rid of it. Burn it. I don't know what you do with it. You get rid of it by the time I get there.
I'll leave it out just for you.
No, I'm not coming. That's it. Was that thing the entire time there?
Are you talking about the picture?
Yeah.
No, I just recently pulled it out with all of these other frames from storage at a different
Oh,
location.
okay. Yeah, I don't want it there. You can give it to a thrift shop and just further prove my theory that thrift shops are just haunted in the US. So, Douglas, I don't know if you know, but Eastern Europeans are really weird about thrift shops and even like getting secondhand furniture and clothes and everything. It started to be more of a fashionable thing to do, but we are just still super superstitious. And we assume that no matter what happened, the clothes that are in thrift shops are from dead people, off of them right away. I don't know. Something about it just gives me the ick. And it's like you need to do seances over them for you
really?
to wear them.
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, and if you get furniture from unknown sources, then you need to take a bag of salt, like the coarse kind, and just cover the entire surface of the furniture with salt and let it sit for 3 days outside without it getting to rain and such to cleanse it of energies.
I'd have to do that with the chair I'm sitting on. I bought it for $13 at Goodwill.
Salt is a common sort of spirit protectant, or I don't know if it like it's it was also used in like uh, sort of demon summoning too, where they'd make their circles out of salt.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
use it
for
for containment.
protection. Yeah.
Yeah, containment, protection.
Yeah, so be sure you don't contain whatever's in your chair. Make sure you.
Sure. Well, I've had it for a while, so if it had a chance, it probably had a chance to escape by now. But there's a few stories, that I can tell about the place where I'm living at now. Like one day, I was out walking the dogs, and my wife heard a woman arguing in what sounded like Russian coming from our living room. And so, like, I got back, and she's like, "Who are you talking to?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "I heard you talking to a Russian woman." I was like, "Oh." And so there's that. Like one time, she thought she felt somebody sit down, like she was laying in bed, and she thought I got into bed with her because she said it felt like somebody laid behind her and put their arm around her, but it wasn't me, and there was nobody else home. And then one time, my kitchen table like jumped. It's the best way I can put it. Is it just jumped and fell over?
Wow.
It's pretty crazy when you think about it.
You could put your house on the city ghost tour.
Yeah, no, thank you. Do you have any, like, have you had any paranormal experiences yourself?
Um, yeah, I've seen sort of shadow creatures with other people that were able to corroborate that we were both pretty scared. Um, I think that's the only kind of like creature. Well, no, I've also I saw and spoke with my dead grandmother shortly after the funeral, and told my mother about this, what she had said and passed on, and she had said that would be something that my grandmother would have said.
Well, that's really cool, that you got a chance to talk to her after the fact.
Yeah.
I had something like that happen with several years ago. So back like about 10, 11 years ago, a long-term girlfriend at the time passed away suddenly. And a couple weeks later, it was like after I had started going back to work and everything, I was having a really, really hard day dealing with it. And I was like, "Baby, please." I was like, "If you're there, I just need you to show me." And then that night, I had a dream where it was like she was just looking at me and she was like smiling and crying, like crying, like happy tears, that kind of thing. And I didn't realize I was dreaming. Most of the time, I only remember the dreams where I know that I'm dreaming. But like, I was like, "Oh my God, baby, I had this crazy dream that you died and everything." And I went to lean in to kiss her. And like, that's when I woke up and I was like, sitting up in bed, like I was going towards something.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I think it was just last episode I was saying that I wouldn't share my paranormal stories except for in private, but yeah, that's just short summaries, I guess.
We got the private out of Wistmoor.
Yeah.
See, I'm an open book. I tell I give out way too much information.
All right, anything else we wanted to cover? The Rake, Skinwalker, Slender Man.
Kind of need to talk about giants for a minute.
Okay.
Like the things I was talking about. Let me find this one. There's this documentary. I recommend both of you watch it like on your own time. It's about half an hour long or so. But there's all sorts of evidence to giants in America. It's
Yeah, I've seen a
like
little
even
bit with they've found burial mounds with large skeletons, and then there's people saying that the Smithsonian has them and won't show them.
yeah, yeah. I think there's a concentrated, very not concentrated, a concerted effort to suppress this kind of information because I think that if you know that you live in like a fantastical world where there's these types of things like giants, spirits, and hags and what have you, I think not knowing about those things or not believing them in them, I think it has a detrimental effect that kind of just wears people down over time. Where it's like, no, you don't live in this fantastical world. You just live in this hard reality. But there's all this evidence and it's being suppressed.
I'm glad you're bringing that up because that's essentially what everything we do is about, is bringing that sense of wonder back to everybody that's been kind of closed off from it, where we show or like to show or share things that would make the world look like a more wondrous place if you think about these possibilities. And yeah, so I'm glad to hear you make that point.
And I do think you made that video, or you wanted to make it, about people slowly losing their faith in these creatures, and in fairies and fae folk specifically was the video about, and how if you lose the contact with being able to interact with them and also to know how to stay away and everything, then you truly cast them away from our world and into this other dimension thing. Just like people believe that Bigfoot is kind of like going in and out of our dimension, and this is why you have sightings for a while and then you don't.
Well, I think it's just a matter of seeing them. So if you don't believe they exist, you lose the ability to be able to see them. So they haven't actually gone, but they're still out there. Just nobody has the experiences anymore because they're not open to seeing it.
That's just it. I think it's a compounding effect. Like if you stop believing in those kinds of things, like, you know, it really narrows the scope of what you can believe in and what you can expect from reality. And when people just refuse to believe in these things, I think it puts them in like a more sterile and spiritually disconnected frame of mind.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of sort of testimonials about people coming into researching the paranormal or just getting interested in it and reading about it, where they're skeptics. They come in, they don't believe any of it. It's just entertaining, but after a while, they start seeing things, and it's a pretty common thing for people that have been in the field for a while, that they start to have their own experiences only after kind of opening up themselves to those ideas. So it can be good or bad, whatever you're actually looking into.
So when going back real quick to the giants thing, you know, you look at like the megalith structures of Europe, things like the pyramids and all that. And I'm not necessarily saying that all those things are, any of them are done by giants, but you know, you do have these records. Like you look at certain pictographs from Egypt where it shows like giant people, or you have that one, I can't remember his name, like Herod. I don't know if it was Herod, but it's like this Babylonian king, and there's this representation of him, and he's holding a lion, but the lion's like the size of a house cat to him. And then you see like with in India, in Indian Hindu mythology, like these huge dudes riding elephants, but the elephant looks like it's like a pony under him, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Sorry, I know I got a little sidetracked there. I like
no
the topic
worries.
of giants.
Of course, I got the video right here.
If you see these sculptures that you talked about where these giant people are riding elephants, we always go to assume that they were giant people. But what if they had like tiny elephants?
It could be, yeah, or just representations. You know, like look how great this person is, that kind of thing. That's always a possibility.
I want to have a tiny elephant.
Artistic exaggeration for meaning.
So I recommend this YouTube channel for a lot of things. I haven't seen all of their documentaries, but the lady that makes them provides a lot of sources, pictures, old newspaper clipping, things like that, like what you have on your screen now. She starts out with a quote from Abraham Lincoln that mentions the giants that once lived in America.
He was so impressed by the beauty of the natural wonder that he wrote down some notes, including the following. Let's see. When Columbus first saw this continent, when Christ suffered on the cross, when Moses led Israel through the Red Sea, nay, even when Adam first came from the hand of his maker, then as now Niagara was roaring here. The eyes of that species of extinct giants whose bones fill the mounds of America have gazed on Niagara as ours do now. Wow, so he was, yeah.
He's pretty convinced.
Yeah. And even Arthur Conan Doyle, the author of Sherlock Holmes, was a believer in fairies, and he had a book he wrote about the existence of fairies.
Mm-hmm. There's this guy named Erwin Saunders over in the UK.
Oh yeah, we've had him quite a lot.
Okay, you know about Erwin Saunders. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. What do you think about the? I think they called it a basilisk or whatever, but you know that huge lizard-looking thing that he found in the cave. Do you think that was real?
I can't believe I haven't seen the basilisk. I've only seen like the goblins and the pixies, and they all look kind of the same. But I haven't seen a giant lizard.
Well, let's see if I can pull that one. Cave worm. That's what.
Oh, okay. I think there are just all these creatures are drawn to him. He has this aura. Like, if I were a fairy, I would just want to get his candy first, but to
his
appear in his
UFO candies.
Yes, he has the best UFO candies.
All right, I found it. So I'm going to send you the link. The worm doesn't pop up until like the very end, like 1340, something like that.
All right, here we go. This is that part where these are all the discoveries they're saying of giant remains that have been found in the U.S. And then they all go to the Smithsonian and are never heard of again.
It's interesting you look that they avoid the flat places, which makes sense if you're looking at something that's like really big, you know, it's going to want to go where it's not going to stand out, like on the horizon, that kind of.
Yeah, so those aliens that appeared in the news not so long ago, and then when they were taking a closer look, all of the bones mismatched, and the knuckles were not. Were basically from different animals.
Yeah.
Or humans. I'm not sure. Yeah. So with these huge skeletons, has anyone done a thorough investigation of them? Like, have we seen if the bones match or anything? Because it might look human, but what if it isn't?
I hear you on that. I think with a lot of the bones that were recovered, they're probably tucked away by now because there was so much expansion going on in that time. And not only that, but you have like treasure hunters, and I'm sure at some point people are going to know like what a burial mound looks like, even if it's a really big one. And so you probably had a lot of like grave robbing and stuff going on.
Also, a lot of these stories are from the 1800s here from the U.S., And that was a very strange period for us, news-wise, because it was more entertainment based. It was about making sales, and it's called yellow journalism, where they would come up with all kinds of stories just to, um, sell their newspapers. And that's where the snallygaster originally came from, which is sort of the American version of a dragon. But so there are definitely a lot of hoaxes that were actually in the news back in that day. So it is a difficult time to do real academic research with what was in print.
And that's entirely possible. I mean, back then, especially when everyone and their mother had a printing press and was trying to churn out stuff to make it buck. So you guys were talking about. So here, I found another reference here. It's called the Atacama skeleton, and it's this, I think, like 6-7 inch skeleton of this humanoid figure, and it's real. It's not a fabrication. Like when I was looking it back up just now, they were saying that they confirmed that it's human. But the thing is that it's a fully grown adult skeleton, and so it's a fully grown human adult that's like 6 or 7 inches tall.
I was just now thinking about that technique that the people do, shrunken heads, and it's obviously like done with the bones in, I suppose, like with the ball, and it's shrinking the entire thing. I was just imagining if you can do the technique, but like on entire bodies.
No, well, with shrunken heads, they remove the skull. The way they do those is they remove the skull and then they fill the skin of the head with hot rocks and sand, and then they like throw it in water or boil it, something like that. And they do that multiple times, and over time it shrinks it down. But like when you see a shrunken head, it's like stuffed. There's not a little shrunken skull in there.
Oh, I see.
So where is this little guy from?
Originally, I from what I remembered, it was something like Australia or whatever. But Atacama seems like a Yucatanian, something like Central or South America. So that's what I bet.
Not to be a hater, but he looks sculpted.
Did you say he looks content?
Sculpted.
Sculpted. Like
Sculpted.
the
Oh, yeah.
Seems like my first attempt at sculpting.
Yeah, but they did tests on this thing, and they confirmed that it's a real corpse.
Yeah, through this, I just wanted to praise my own skills. That if my future sculptures look like this, it's legit, it's real.
Yes, they're talking about the genes.
Did you ever see the baby dragon in the jar?
No, I would like a link to that. No.
Yeah, hang on.
There
Let me
are
pull it up.
a bunch of things that you can get on Etsy as like part of taxidermy projects, and they are combining two bats and making a two-headed bat, or all kinds of animals to form a cryptid. And I saw one that is like a jackalope, but not in a jar, in this dome globe, and I'm just so fascinated by it.
So this
So it looks like it was this dragon in a jar was a hoax, but I'll send the picture anyway, just because it's interesting. And this was from way back in the day, like way before we had things like Reddit and YouTube, and where things would go viral the way that they do now.
Yeah,
so here, let me get this saved.
It looks like this skeleton here is actually from Chile, and it's provided by Dr. Stephen Greer, who some of you might remember when we were talking about the congressional hearings. He was the one bringing forth the groups of people and had commissioned like art to draw these people's experiences, so that he did the whole presentation just before the congressional hearing.
So I do have this curiosity since both you guys seem really well versed in these topics and have seen images just as real as they were hoaxes among them too. Um, do you feel not hurt or betrayed, but do you care really much if something looks real and it's well made to just keep up with it and to think like, yeah, this could be real, even though some people prove that is not? Are you still just as impressed by it? Because sometimes I find pictures of these with the dragon in the jar, and I wanna believe that they are real, and for me, this is all that matters. No one needs to tell me that, yeah, it's real, it's legit, because this looks more real than the alien.
I think it kind of matters on what the subject material is. Like something like a baby dragon in a jar. I think, you know, whether or not that's something like that's a hoax, it doesn't really hurt anyone. But certain things where if it's a hoax, but people believe it's real, you could wind up having people just like wasting their lives dedicating it to it. And I would see that as well, you know.
Yeah, and then you would also, if it comes out as a hoax, people might be less likely to believe the next thing.
Right. And there's been stuff like that. Like there's this, you know, I won't describe it just because it's kind of disturbing and you tell me about your audience and all that stuff. But it was like a picture that had surfaced that was supposedly related to like a secret society cannibal event, and it really upset me for years just thinking about it. And then I found out later that it's from horror. But like you look at the picture and it looks like a genuine picture, and so that was one where I was really relieved that it wasn't real.
And we've got the Erwin Saunders and the cave worm up now.
So the worm doesn't pop up until like if you mouse over like right there at the hump. Yeah.
He's probably got lots of different entrances, so have you got your camera going?
Yeah, it's going now.
Okay.
Okay.
There we go. Looks like a land eel.
Right?
Owen.
Okay.
Oh, but it's big. It's big. Oh my God.
I can't go.
They're just so politely like scooting over.
I know. That's one of the things I love about that guy. Like, let's just,
Yeah.
you know, for the sake of argument, it's real. Like, you're in this cave and this cave lizard pops out and you're like, hey, buddy.
You get all kinds of reactions from people just discovering creatures, but this is the most unique of them. And for some reason, it's really fitting to be British. Like, this is how British people would react to a creature.
Right?
And
Yeah.
yum, mate.
The juxtaposition of composure and the craziness.
There's a video from the UK, just since we're on the topic of Erwin Saunders, where it's this like dad and his kids, and they go up to this tree in their backyard, and it's like a human-shaped insect kind of flies off of it, and then kind of flies towards them. But it looks like what you would describe as a fairy, you know?
Yeah. It looks kind of like a dragonfly, and it's really thin.
Yeah, you hear that fluttering sound from its wings, like it doesn't really make any other noise or anything. Like for me, that's what makes the cave worm video there more credible. Like the worm itself does look a little bit computer generated, so it might be, but just the way that there's no like flourishing, like it doesn't act all dramatic, it doesn't roar or hiss or anything. It just comes out and then just starts moving towards them, and that seems natural.
Yeah, there's only so many videos that exist on the internet for fairy sightings, and I think I have seen,
And you know them all.
seen most of them.
Right.
And most of them.
Gotta look into gnomes and duendes out of Mexico.
We did like an entire podcast on it.
Oh, okay.
Good times.
There's one that's I think it's from America, and it's a group of people like in their 20s hanging out in a living room, somebody's recording it with their phone, and one of the guys walks into the kitchen to get like a drink or something, and you hear him start to freak out, and you look, and right outside of the sliding glass door is this little humanoid thing with like a pointy red hat. And then once it notices him, it runs away. The red hat is an interesting aspect because you see it in that. There's another video where it's like wearing a red cloak, but then there's a creature from European red cap.
Right.
A lot of these creatures need to be kept alive through power of faith and everything, and for people to look into them and to tell their stories and legends. And I know that the power of faith does a lot of things, especially like making dreams come true. And one of my wildest dreams is to have Erwin on our podcast. What about that?
Yeah, he's still making videos, so he's still a content creator. Maybe he'd
Wouldn't
be
that
interested.
be cool?
We can definitely put out feelers and see how it goes.
So I'm going to assume that you've seen his Pixie video where it's like a green little thing and it pops up on like a rock, like a big pillar behind him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I was surprised that I hadn't seen this cave worm yet. All right, anything else that we want to talk about Native American, or not Native American, just North American cryptid-wise, as we wrap up today's show?
I mean, if you guys want to maybe discuss the Wendigo.
Yeah.
So what's the difference
Oh.
between the Wendigo and the Skinwalker?
So a Wendigo has a more cannibalistic element to it, according to folklore. Like I know a little bit more about this one than others because of this lady, Dr. Emily Zarka. She did a really good video about it. She has a YouTube series called Monstrum. And so the Wendigo, yeah. So the whole antler horn Wendigo thing, that all comes from a movie, like a B horror movie from like 10 or 15 years ago, where the director didn't even do any research. He just came up with the whole antler deer skull thing because he thought it looked cool, and it caught on from there. But like in North American, like in Native American, I mean, folklore, the Wendigo is like this tall, thin, humanoid creature with sharp teeth. Like it doesn't have lips because it bites its own lips off, and it can move really fast, and it eats people that get like exiled from their tribes.
Is there
But people can also become them. Yeah, here, let me send you a link. I've watched this video probably a dozen times just because, like in the series for this book that I'm writing, Teeth of the Wind, there's going to be 4 projected books, and in the 4th one, one of the main antagonist things is going to be this kind of Wendigo-like creature, and so I did some research into that. But here you go, I'm going to send.
Okay.
I also seen these videos of a deer that had a massive wound on its back leg and had an arrow stuck in his head, and it was like walking around, and it seemed like the most zombie deer ever. This is how I imagine a Wendigo looking like.
Yeah, there's also a thing called the knot deer, and it's
Yeah.
deer-like, but just as creepy as this.
Can I send you pictures of the knot deer?
Sure.
So I definitely recommend watching this video at some point, just like a time. It's got a lot of good information. That lady has a PhD in like folklore, I think it is.
Okay.
And so all of her videos on different subjects, they're thoroughly researched, and she covers a lot of different topics. Or not topics, so like they're all cryptids, but she goes from all over the world.
Great, yeah, and I'll include these in the description after the show's over. So if anybody wants to watch the full length, we can see the links there.
So before the whole antler horn Wendigo thing came about, there was a really good movie that was made that captured the more traditional view of it, and it's called Ravenous, and it's got Guy Pearce in it. And it's about these frontiersmen, and they get like afflicted by this. It's like this cannibalistic force that sort of overtakes them. But it's told in a really nuanced way where you're not sure, like, is it a supernatural thing or is it just like cabin fever? You know, is it just a bunch of men that are starting to turn on each other because they're in this isolated compound out in the forest?
Okay.
That poor deer. He was so confused.
And that looks a lot like our rake as well.
With that, though, I think that might be an overlap. Like, it could be maybe a mixture of like what could have been old oral traditions about the rake that perhaps got blended with something else, just because of their appearance. Because if you go into the real lore of it, the Wendigo was basically just like a boogeyman figure that was meant to encourage social cohesion. Like, if you withheld resources from the tribe, or if you went against the tribe, that kind of thing, like, you would get exiled and the Wendigo would get you.
I see.
Although they did believe that people could turn into them too. Like, she covers in that video, there was some Canadian province where a native killed another native because he said that he turned into a Wendigo, and that was an accepted thing in their tribe, but because it was Canadian territory, he was punished for it.
Let me pull up the
I
not
provided
deer.
pictures
Those
of the
deers.
deer.
Are those look like owl eyes on a deer?
I don't know.
That deer on the right looks like Putin.
Whoa, this is supersized. I can look him right in the eyes.
That is what I call the deer in the headlights
The
stare.
flat pupils is a really interesting thing.
Isn't it like a goat thing and not a deer thing to have flat pupils?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. I think they can also have like cornered pupils, which is really.
Let's see what these
And
other.
it looks like its bite is quite off, like a knee braces.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so these images are deer with different eyes. So we had the goat eyes, and now we've got wolf eyes.
Oh, this is Bambi's dad. This is how every deer male character design looks like.
I saw a video on Twitter yesterday of this cat, and I swear to you, this cat had like an almost human face to it.
Yeah, there are some of animals that I don't know what's wrong with them, but they have these human features. Especially, I saw a dog. Is the most unsettling thing ever.
I think it would be unsettling on a dog. It was weird. There was like a real, like a strange beauty to it on the cat, because there was so much emotion on his face. It's like you would know exactly what that cat was feeling just by looking at it.
I think I have that cat I can put up.
Yeah, he's like black. Black. He kind of looks like a Maine Coon, I think.
Wistmoor is about to troll us.
This guy?
No, not that one, but that's pretty funny. Let me see if I have it in my bookmarks. Hold on.
I have it. I just got it.
Yeah, I was saying this has to be a puka. It can't be a cat.
There you go. It's the black one.
Yeah. Just look at that. That's so. There's just so much
Not
humanity.
okay. Yeah.
I have seen this one too. It is pretty amazing how on the internet and how vast it is, how much of these things that we've actually shared. Shared experiences with.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah, well, I think people that have the same interests kind of tend to look over the same things. And you just don't know who shares the same passions as you do until you do a podcast with them.
Yeah, and then also the cream of the crop rises to the top.
Yeah. Oh
I
my
mean, I'd
gosh,
love to be back in the future. If you guys would be interested in having me back, it's been a really interesting conversation.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Um,
found this picture of a dog that has like a drawn face over, and put it up on the screen because I think it's the best thing ever. It kind of looks like the way I look at you sometimes.
Wow.
Tell me that doesn't look like me in real life. Just with like ginger hair.
That's how
there.
my dog's looking at me right now.
We should
Yeah,
just
Because I got my lunch in front of
replace your VTuber with this.
exactly. So you know how I have the VTuber with expressions, and I have one that is like trying to be seductive, but it fails. I just need to make it serious, like for real now, like this one.
Yep.
I don't think I'm up on the screen, but I changed it to the face that I have.
There you go.
Okay.
You can show off.
Yay. That is Wisteria all the way.
But yeah, it has
DB says is judging.
been.
you talking about the dog still?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, she also has this VTuber, which you'll be able to see on the green screen. You can click over, and that's how she appears on when we go live.
On cam. Yeah. And I change faces and everything. And I have one that has a witch hat and quails and everything, but this one is the funny face. It's subtle, but it's there.
That's neat.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's been quite a wild ride today.
So, well, yeah, it's been a really interesting discussion. You know, it's not often I get to like have long form talks about this sort of thing.
Great, yeah. We can come up with some other ideas to have you back on for too.
Mhm.
Thank you both so much for the invitation and all that. It's been great.
Great,
And thank you for coming.
yeah, I appreciate it,
All right.
and appreciate all your contributions and theories and ideas. It's been amazing, and thank you everybody in chat for being part of the conversation, and looking forward to seeing some comments so the conversation can continue. And otherwise, we'll catch you out in the wild.
Did you have
All right, sounds good. You guys have a great weekend.
You too.
You too.